All right, everyone. Hey, it must be Friday because it's another Q&A with Alan and Marshall. And as you may notice, Alan's not here. So sitting in is our good friend Richard Greaves. Alan is a little delayed. He's going to jump in here in a minute. But we have, so I don't have to do this by myself. We have our co-pilot here, Richard, to hang out with us for a little bit. So how are you doing today, Richard?
Alan called me yesterday and said he's going to be a little bit late. Can I write him a note? I said, yes, I will write a note.
Yeah. So anyway, you're here, and we both got our Shirt Lab shirts on, and that one was from our event in Fort Worth.
Fort Worth.
Yeah. So as well as this one, both of these were from Fort Worth. So anyway, so good to see you, and thank you for jumping in at last minute notice. Appreciate that.
I'm ready. I have my notes. But you can't see it on the green screen. Okay.
Yeah. So if you're just joining us, we would love it if you would say hello. Please leave a comment. Let us know where you're watching from. Also, if you could do us a huge favor and share. We love it when you share. Share that you're watching the show. That would be fantastic. By the way, when we had Ray on the other day, we had a total of like 4,000 viewers because the show was shared like 9 times. So that really helps us with our view rate because, let's face it, not everybody is watching it live. Most of our viewers are watching it as a recording later on Facebook or YouTube. And that really helps us because that broadens our show a little bit. So please comment and let us know that you're here, and also share, and we would really appreciate that. So we want to say hello to some folks. So first off, it's Ray's here. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining. And Ghost is here usually, as usual, from Sweden. Sean's here from Alpharetta. Good to see you, Sean. Frank's here from Texas, S&S activewear guy, and Frank loves his background. I'm sure we'll not talk about that because we're doing some marketing with that right now. So anyway, and Chris says good morning, and Sarah's here. Hey guys, good morning. So good to see you. Oh, you want me to? Let me copy and paste that. I will make a banner. So anyway, so it's good seeing everybody. Thanks for joining. If you want to get a hold of Richard for anything, here is all his info. So please reach out to him if you need any help or anything. I'm sure, Richard, you don't mind helping people, do you?
Not at all. I actually, I enjoy it. I've had some terrific contacts this week. Some great archive searching adventures, treasure hunts.
Yeah, good. So a couple little housekeeping notes before we get into some stuff. I will remind everybody we're having a workshop on Pantone color matching by Mark Sodonek with GSG. That is going to be on November the 30th. You can just go to Eventbrite or just type in Pantone matching for screen printing. It'll come up. Please sign up. It's 100% free. So if you do any sort of Pantone matching, we're going to show you the proper way of doing everything, and it's going to be a fantastic Shirt Lab workshop. Would love you to join in. If you can't make it because maybe something's going on that day, sign up anyway, and I will send you the video. So you can't lose. Also, no show next week because of Thanksgiving. Both Alan and I are going to be in a food coma on Friday. So we're not going to be doing a show. We talked about doing it earlier in the week, but Alan's traveling and I have relatives in town. So we decided just to not do a show on Thanksgiving and just have some time off. So we welcome everybody to enjoy your Black Friday without us. So Um, and then so let's pay some bills, and then we'll come back and get into some topics. What do you think, Richard?
Very good. Play that GSG music.
All right, here we go.
GSG, the combination of over half a century of knowledge with industry-leading technology and the customer at the center of everything that we do. Graphic Solutions Group is a powerhouse distributor of traditional screen, sign, wide format digital printing, embroidery, and textile decorating. We are committed to our customers, providing support, educational, and consulting services. Your success is our success. We've seen these industries grow and change in our 70 years. One thing never changes: GSG's dedication providing the best products and services available. We've been around, we'll be around, from the highs and the lows, standing right here with you. GSG, the right products, right away.
Awesome. So thanks so much to GSG for sponsoring our show. We really appreciate them, and they do such a fantastic job for the industry. So please reach out to them if you need any supplies or help or equipment or whatever. They're happy to do it. And I know that one of my coaching clients recently flew all the way to Oklahoma City and took a basic screen printing class that Mark taught. And he told me it's probably one of the best things he could have done for his business. So if you're interested in some training, that's something you might want to look into.
And I know people are interested, people new to the business that, especially the rising out of the pandemic, it stole 2 years out of our life. Where do we go for education? And GSG is a great place to go for that.
Yeah, totally. So that being said, if you just joined us, Alan's going to be a little late. So Richard has graciously agreed to co-host today. So we're going to work through our topics. And again, this is a Q&A show. We really need your questions and comments to help make the show work and be as impactful as possible. So please drop us a question, leave a comment, answer, tell a joke, whatever you want to do. But that helps the show be really engaging. So we really need your participation to make the show better. So, all right. So our first topic, do you remember what it is?
Yes.
It's the cost of doing nothing. So we always talk about return on investment, ROI, but there's another side to that coin, which is the cost of doing nothing. And Richard, you have got some sage words of advice about this, I'm sure. So what do we mean by this?
Well, I was in a discussion with the great Mark Coudray yesterday, and it came up in discussion. And as usual, he gives the little quiz, COI. And for the life of me, I couldn't make, I didn't really understand what he was saying. So I'm squirming just like we all should when we're in the presence of Mr. Coudray. And he's known for that. It's something we could all learn in our sales work. And that is that you ask a question that someone can't explain, except cost of inaction, COI, not ROI. I love ROI, return on investment, but cost of doing nothing is kind of a scold. But the idea is that if you do nothing, it may be more comfortable. But what is the cost of not buying a tension meter, which is one of the reasons that cost of doing nothing was on my brain because of lean manufacturing studies that I've done since I learned about lean in the late 1970s. And I wrote about it in a column, one of my columns in Screenprinting magazine in 1987. So it's something that's been with me, but I don't think I really embedded enough yet. I was having to talk with Mark Coudray yesterday around lunchtime, and I've had 3 discussions with people in the last 24 hours where I was able to bring up the cost of inaction. And so I want people to think about it. What's it going to cost me if I don't do it? And you know what? If it's not going to cost you anything, then it's not a right thing to do anyway. But most people don't understand what's going to happen if they don't take the blood pressure medicine. They're going to get a stroke. That would be the cost of doing nothing. That when I didn't take my blood pressure medicine for 5 years, guess what? I got to win a cane. I got issued a cane by the Brooklyn City Hospital. So that's the scarier part. And that's what I'm trying to do, is scare you into thinking, what if I do nothing? And that means everybody should also really think about buying a tension meter today.
Right. Well, it's also cost of inaction. What happens, like I was talking with a coaching client yesterday, and they were talking about how they've been really busy. And now that stuff has been drying up, now they have no sales. And I go, well, describe to me your sales activities that you've done this last week. And they go, well, we haven't really done any because we've been busy printing. And I go, well, the cost of your inaction here, right, is the fact that you have no sales activities, which is why you have no sales. So there's a cause and effect to this stuff, right? By the way, where'd you go, Richard?
I went, of course, to go get 2 second lean.
Of course. It's because it's been 12 minutes. How'd you get it this far into the show without mentioning that book? I'm shocked, frankly.
Children, take out your scripture and turn to page 77 of 2 Second Lean, in which the great Paul Akers states that we're a successful company. We'll never get that done if we do. Oh, no, here, I'm not saying this right. We can't afford to spend all that time improving, said the employee to Paul. It says, we have a very successful company. Do you know why? Continuous improvement. Your job is not to produce fast caps. That's his company.
Yeah.
Your job is to improve the process of how we produce screen printing. You should read that first before you read the whole book. That's the whole point of the book, to improve the process.
That's right. That's
Here's
right.
my mic.
We've got some people saying good morning, so let's get to them, and then with some excellent comments. So Charles is here. Good morning, Charles. Good seeing you. Cindy's here from Texas. Good seeing you, Cindy. Ray says, I dropped by that GSD class. It was great. Hey, thanks. Good comment. Sheehan Fernando says, hi, good to you both from Sri Lanka. Good seeing you, buddy. Ray also says, joining the hip is cost of waiting to pull the trigger. Loss of opportunity while mulling things over that you know you need to do. So pull that trigger. Frank says business is like water. It becomes stale and stagnant and eventually dies when it's not moving. Ray also says current client just last week, they discovered with great pain the cost of not buying a thickness gauge 6 months ago. Production stopped. Exactly. Charlie says, good morning. Good seeing you, pal. Sean says, Richard is in rare form. Yes. Josh Wiley says, good morning. Hey, Josh. So the cost of doing nothing, this could be in really anything, right? This could be personally, like your cost of not exercising or the cost of not doing the dishes that last night and this morning your whole house smells like onions when you wake up, right? So like there's always the cost of doing nothing, right? So we always have to temper what we're doing with that. And so the reason why we're bringing this up is because it's the middle of November. Everybody's in holiday crush mode, at least a lot of people are. Black Friday's around the corner, holidays around the corner, everything's going crazy. And we're putting a lot of things off. And so what's going to happen when all of this busy stuff is over and there's nothing behind it? Right? There's the dreaded silence from the phone or the email or the order entry because nothing's going on because you've been so busy with horse blinders on trying to get out the craziness that's going on right now. So just think about even small little efforts an hour or two a day of reaching out and building up the end of December, building up sales for January now can really pay off for you. And I hate to see people start the new year with no work. And we're going to talk about 2023 here later, but the cost of doing nothing could be the fact that now you have nothing to do and you're sending people home and everybody's upset about it, right? So just wanting to kind of throw that out there. So Richard, I'm sure you have legendary stories where you avoided something and then it bit you in the butt later, right?
Well, the biggest one, of course, is my stroke, my blood pressure, not paying attention to the doctor. So that's always a problem. The doctor, you look at the advertisements for medical things, and of course, the side effects sound worse than the problems you're getting. Or, gee, it's a $600 pill. It's a $600 tension meter that I'm going to have to buy. Should I upgrade to computer to screen or now laser to screen? It's a little bit more money, but it's faster. But as with all things, you'll have to change. You'll have to adapt. And so you can get in and adopt early, or you can adopt later once everybody else has figured it out and you're just always a little bit slower. It's the lost opportunity that Jesse talked about in his quote just a few moments ago.
Right. Yeah. And so if you're watching this right now, can you leave us a comment about maybe something that, you waited on or you didn't do, or, what's your tale of woe where, you waited, something happened, you didn't do it, you put it off till tomorrow, and then it didn't happen. Right. And then it was too late. Right. And so for me, the cost of doing nothing a lot of times is in how we organize things, how we clean, how we we need to be working on things and being organized in our process, right? A lot of this is about, I think, intent. What is, and we were talking about ROI a minute ago, return on investment. My kind of flip on that is return on intent. And we've talked about that before, where we're trying to be intentful in what we do. We're trying to be effective in our time, and because we can always make another dollar, but we can't make another minute, right? So how we're using our time really matters. And I know from just looking at how people do things, look at, some Discord channels or Facebook or whatever, and you would think that these people are paid professionally to post. They're constantly in these channels. How they're not working, I don't know, right? But it's just one of these things where there's always a better use of time, right? And so when we put things off, we kind of challenge ourselves sometimes.
There's always an initial hurdle, the getting started. Sean's going to talk about his film printer. What came to mind once is I had a bad situation happen when I was not filling my tire up. I had a slow leak, and every couple of days, I had to stop and put air in the tire because it just didn't take the hour to go to Mr. Tire and get my tire fixed. And then over a weekend, long Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Monday, I needed to go to the airport, and guess whose tire was dead flat? So I was late picking up the big boss at the airport.
Yeah.
It's a simple thing, but it's the hurdle. I don't want to do it because I got other things to do. So order of importance, we've mentioned that already today in our personal conversation before the show. So we need to think about what is going to be the most disruptive, and it's often a surprise.
Yeah, so for Sean, right, waiting to replace my film printer. Okay, so my question is, how come you're not using CTS? I would be looking at that. Even a used one, right, is way better than a film printer, and mainly because of the abilities to use Trilock or another jig system, where it's when you put your job up on press, it's already pre-registered, and you can lock it in with maybe a little micro when you're printing. Right. When you use film, it's a slower process, but the film doesn't show up in savings on the production floor like a CTS unit does, right? So
M&R, Dalthit, and Sati all have return on investment charts that demonstrate all the benefits of things. I'm thinking it's like 5 or 6 years ago, we had a seminar at Greg Kitson's Mind's Eye Graphics. It was just about CTS conversion. And there, the entire show was about all the little tiny incremental steps. I saw a picture the other day in one of the memes on the internet, and it just passed by, but it grabbed me. And it was 2 ladders going up to a second story. One ladder had steps that looked like they were about 4 feet between each step. And the next ladder had steps that looked like they were 6 inches. Small little incremental steps that were easy to take, got you up to the second floor faster than having to struggle to climb up the harder to climb ladder. Make the ladder easier, little steps.
yeah, and also we know in screen printing, one of our main challenges is reducing variables. So that's why you get an autocoder. That's why you get an imager. That's why you do things with more automation, because when it's a machine doing it, right, it lines up faster. It's a little better. It's more precise. You can design the thing for the outcome more rather than Bill does it one day and Susie does it the next day, and now which one did it the right way? We don't know. When it's a machine doing something, it's just what the machine is calibrated and what your settings were, right? So we know what the output's going to be. So that's something you should consider, especially with this type of system. And then we can have a whole discussion about toner versus wax. But to me, I like reducing the variables and eliminating somebody's good or bad work habit on how they line up the film on the screen or use the pins or tape it down or all that stuff with using film. Going to a CTS unit really solves that. So wouldn't you agree, Richard?
Oh, yes, definitely.
How about the cost of biting off more than you can chew? I've grown to hate my Lego print this week. Yeah, well, sometimes you create your own nightmare.
Didn't the world tell you first that you're biting off a big thing, but you're the only one doing it. You're the leader of the pack these days.
Yeah.
You and your work with lenticular work, and you are creating a new path. So you're the trendsetter. That's the problem. You got all the arrows in your back because you're an early initiator, even though it's like the second go round for super high density printing. What should really be called low density printing.
Yeah. Simon says nipping bad employee habits in the bud, unchecked, can become systematic. Unchecked it. Yeah, love it. This week we make the plan for Q1 23, like on printing on Thursdays and so on, and equipment adjusted for what can be expected for Q1 through Q2 of 23. Excellent. We're going to be talking about that here shortly. So love that comment. Nice segue, I think. And Frank says, I may be opening a can of worms here, but doesn't Mr. Greaves have an argument regarding capillary film being just as efficient? I thought I remember him making that comment on a podcast. I believe it was this one, but he probably says it all the time. Go ahead and restate your argument, Mr. Greaves.
I'm a big believer in direct film. I have been since the minute I saw it. The fact that little Jennifer, 5 years old, can make a better screen than Joe Ulano with the best coder in the world, or not any automatic coder. I can put up little Jennifer, 5 years old, against the best liquid emulsion ever. Why? Because the emulsion doesn't shrink, because it goes on like a film, because it goes on in less than 10 seconds, because it's literally 90% dry as soon as you've wiped off most of the moisture. It will dry in less than 20 seconds. I said 20 seconds wrong. 20 minutes, absolutely, because all you have to do is dry the adhesion water. And you have the same perfectly smooth, half-tone, beautiful stencil every single time, and no skill involved. Now,
So why
the
is
direct
that?
emulsion is cheaper. Yes, but when you calculate the labor, I believe you'll find that you are mistaken.
Well, why isn't that a common practice, Richard?
Because it's more money, costs more money in the box, costs more money to ship it. But from companies like Yolano, the great Yolano, who I worked for many years as product manager, you can get direct film cut to any size that you want and sent in packets of 100. So you just literally, if that's the size you want, you order it from Yolano. It comes a couple of weeks later. You don't get it instantly unless it's a common size, but you can get any size you want if you're willing to wait for custom cutting. Wet the screen, pour the water on the screen, which is wetting it, stick the film on, put it in the drying cabinet. Gee, no coat, no mess. I want you to think of me. Every time you're cleaning the coater today and tonight and the next day, think of cleaning the bucket of emulsion, cleaning the spatula you use to clean the coater. Think of me. Get a dartboard out and throw the darts at me.
Hey, look.
Oh,
I decided to come work.
That's okay. Hey,
I've been- I've been
hey,
li-
Richard, make sure we dock his paycheck, okay?
Absolutely.
this is like my fourth rant today. You
Yeah.
missed it. I've got one every 5 minutes so far.
I've been listening to the show. I got some comments on some previous stuff too. I'm loving it. So
Yeah. Hey, by the way, it took him 12 minutes to say 2-second lead, so that's the longest I think.
Well, actually, you were wrong. I heard that part. He said it earlier. You missed it. So
Oh.
it was like 2 and 12 minutes. He did. So
But let us all say, I love Frank Good. Thank you for bringing that up, Frank.
Yeah.
agreed.
Yeah,
On
so
capillary film, absolutely.
It's a
Charlie
favorite.
says, I love cap film. I started out all the new shops I put together with it.
You know, Richard, I'm right with you on cap film. It is. Geez, oh Pete, I just spilled hot coffee on me. This is going to be a great day. Anyways, that's going to leave a mark.
Do you need to take a minute, Alan? And
No, I'm fine.
Where did it spill, Alan?
On my lap, on my right leg.
Where
So,
did it spill, Alan?
yeah. Anyways, so yeah, no, nothing real major. Just some skin grafts will be fine. Anyways, on capillary film, I'm all for it. Like Richard is. It is the easiest. It is perfect every time. And you know what, Richard? When I first learned to do capillary film, right after I met you from the late great Al Petsy, showed me how to apply it from Yolano, I was sold. And back then, cap film was more expensive, but
Still
now especially,
Easy Film.
Yeah, CDF and all that. But now Yolano has Easy Film, which is basically the price of a gallon of emulsion. So it's really not a cost
Pure
factor
coating.
anymore.
My
Yep.
slogan.
Okay, so Hurley says he tried high density cap film and didn't like it. It was a headache.
Well, that would be user error, Charlie, I'm afraid to say.
Call for help.
Yeah.
Yes, it takes longer. Anything thick, you've got to have enough penetration with UV energy.
Yep.
But you stick it on, it still goes on in 20 seconds.
Yep.
And
How could
does
I do
Alan ever swear? He does. Just talk about podcasts.
I do talk about screen opener. I do swear. I try not to on the air.
I've heard Alan swear.
I probably.
I have never heard Alan swear. Ever.
That's a lie, Richard. You have. I don't think you guys realize that I probably do more than I should. Hey, I'm not perfect for being the ex-pastor and stuff. I'm not perfect, but I am trying to curb that also.
What, did you say hell or something?
No, it's been more than that.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm
I'm sure we all have to. I'm sure we all have to talk about to have some Academy stuff to talk about after.
No, we're not going there.
No, but we'll there'll be some F-bombs thrown. No,
We're
anyway,
not going there. We've
but
all
anyways.
read all. We've
Right,
all
move on,
read all the
move on.
comments from people.
yeah,
Probably.
I think on capillary film, Hurley, we especially doing high density like you are, you gotta have your microns perfect, and it's something you gotta learn. Get some help. Let's know what we can do.
So Sean asked, do they offer a cap film that holds up to discharge or water base?
No.
All you have to do is do direct indirect.
True.
And so you coat the inside of the screen where that big rubber a squeegee is rubbing the water base ink in the inside of the screen. So you coat with direct emulsion, a water resistant direct emulsion, and get your capillary film, your direct film, to stick to that. You don't use water, you use a coating of a water resistant emulsion on, which will be on the inside of the screen where the rubber squeegee is.
Yep. And like Richard said, that's called the direct indirect method. Stuff that, man, we just don't see enough of anymore, Richard. So
Gee, where would I learn about that?
Oh, I don't know. Call Dr. Greaves.
So Hurley says most likely user error in his behalf. Washout was always a problem. It would always delaminate before it could fully wash it out.
And what does that tell you? Not adhered, not cross-linked. The UV energy did not move all the way through to the back where it's actually attached.
Charles says, how does it apply? Does it just stick to the screen like a decal?
Wet screen, stick on like a postage stamp, an old style postage stamp that you had to lick. So you wet the envelope instead of wetting the stamp. You wet the envelope. So you wet the mesh and then stick the pre-coated film.
And there's a couple ways to do it. I was taught the roll method. You can do it where it's folded in the middle and bring it down. There's a couple different methods. It seems difficult. It's really not. And you want that emulsion to that because that's what it is. It's emulsion on film, and you want that to adhere and almost adhere, soak in a little bit.
Yeah,
you're softening it.
Abe Froman, the
sausage king of Chicago.
Sausage king of Chicago.
Yeah, right.
We've got Abe Froman. You've got to identify yourselves.
Thanks, Richard. He says, "All right,
yeah."
Call for help.
So, Alan, you said you had some comments.
Well, I loved what Sean was talking about on film, on a film printer, and what you guys immediately went to on direct to screen and direct to laser. Yeah, absolutely, Sean. You're at a place where you got to look at all those. Richard mentioned the ROIs that Dalfit has, M&R has, Saudi has. I don't want us to forget Kiwo.
Right.
They have a new laser system out. And you know what? Competition is good. Saudi has a great laser system. I saw it before, when it was the wizard behind the curtain. And I was like, oh my gosh, game changer 2 years before. And you know what? They've played in this pond by themselves for a long time. And now there's some new players in the pool.
Yeah. Don't forget M&R has a CTS, right?
Not laser though.
No, but you mentioned manufacturers, so just
right. Well, that's what we said. M&R, Dalfit, Kiwo, and all that. And the thing is, competition is good because I saw Saudi put some posts that people are saying about their things. Well, Saudi's laser is a great system. Is it perfect? No. Early adoption. So it'll be interesting on what Kiwo's coming up with. I know what they're saying. We're not going to get into that. That's not what this show's about. But this is where, okay, everybody, you've played in that pool by yourself. What's being said? Is it true? Can it be fixed? Or has someone just built maybe a little bit better a mousetrap? Competition is good in this thing. Mm-hmm. Same thing, M&R, Dalfit, and all that. Two different systems. Both are better than film. I have my favorite, Dalfit Wax. Richard likes Dalfit Wax. But you know what? Both systems are better than film. And actually, and oddly enough, M&R, Dalfit, Kiwo, our sponsor GSG handles them all.
Yeah. So Charles asked, could you apply it straight after you degrease without drawing the screen?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And that would be the best way to do it.
Yeah.
And I actually, Richard, I don't know, you feel free to correct me as you have been the Richard Greaves in my career for so many years. This is where I sell chemicals where we have products with degreasers in them. If you're going to use the capillary film, you want a good screen enhancer, a high-end degreaser too, which helps adhere that.
There you go.
More of
So,
a wedding
Charles,
agent. More of a wedding agent. Yeah,
why don't you play around with that and report back?
absolutely.
And if you need help, these. Well, I got to do my head the right way. These guys will help you out.
Yep.
So,
I know an easy way you can degrease a screen.
I know an easy way product that will grease the screen real well.
are
So
you trying to be punny?
I'm on a
Or
roll
funny.
today.
yeah,
Okay. All right. So
I'm under the GSG banner here.
is laser versus wax versus printhead just a matter of preference? Ford, Chevy, Dodge?
no, completely
No.
different.
Speed costs money. How fast
Yeah.
do you want to go?
Yep.
Ray says, "Hey dudes, hey Ray, good seeing you." And then Charles says, "Very punny fellas." Right.
David said Lucia DX. That's the Lucia DX is one of the Kiwo machines. They have the Lucia one, but that's a high-end graphics one. And David, correct me if I'm wrong. Rich, I don't know if you saw it. I looked at it at the show a little bit, but they also have a Kiwo one, which is made not by Lucia, which is probably more for the textile end of it. But Lucia has. I've seen the Lucia one at a label, a bottle printer, like 2 years ago. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And as Ray Greenwood may put in the notes, he and I have talked with several manufacturers about trying to get one that's a much higher resolution to do industrial work. It's coming.
I think, and
higher resolution is coming.
I do
Definitely.
believe Lucia might have it. It's just very rare because it is in that industrial market, and that's what this label printer, they print directly on the bottle, super high speeds, and the detail was incredibly difficult.
So
Real soon now,
to,
nothing now, but real soon.
To keep the show moving forward, let's pay some bills here. So I want to show the Pulse at gogsg.com. They've got a Pulse magazine that's got a lot of specials and stuff that you can get to. And today we wanted to highlight their screen recycling program. I know I've been dealing with a lot of people lately about their screens, and this is where you can go to get your junky screens cleaned up and remeshed. And so they've got a process. I've seen it in Dallas. It's incredible. And so you can take all these junky screens and they completely redo everything and restretch it and send it back to you. So visit gogsg.com for more information. So cool. Let's move to the next topic.
So Marshall Allen, do you know that if, for instance, I'm working on the Cincinnati branch, do they send those to Texas, or have they got?
I don't know. That's a good question. So I don't know.
They do send them to Texas.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that. So good question. We don't have that information.
No, they do send them to Texas, Marshall.
Okay.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Right.
No, they do that.
But they may build, they'll expand.
Yeah, right. So our next topic is when employees have leverage. So the reason I want to bring this up is that, I talked with lots of shops, and a lot of times people are in a position where their salesperson, their art person, their printer, the person that's running embroidery is the only one with knowledge. And these people know that because you, the owner, if they leave, who's doing that work? And so they have all the leverage over you, and they know it.
Yep.
And their hand is out constantly for more money or ridiculous things or whatever. And so I want to bring this up because I've had several conversations in the last week or two where employees are totally taking advantage of people because they have all the leverage and they know it, right?
Yep.
And so I thought this would be a good topic for today. It seems it's very kind of relevant to what's going on right now. A lot of people are expanding their business and planning stuff for next week, and we're all crazy busy with holiday. And then we've got these employees that what is going on with them? And so my thing is you need to get training. You need to learn how to do whatever they're doing. So in a pinch, you, the owner, is the one that's burning the screens or mixing the ink or printing the shirts or embroidering or whatever. So you have the ability to fire them if you need to. But you also need, that's kind of like step one. Step two is that we start a cross-training program where every employee is learning everybody else's job. So there are 3 or 4 people who know how to print or embroider or ship or sell or whatever. Okay. And that way these employees don't have any leverage over you. Okay. So guys, what has been your experience with this topic?
I call it kingdom building, where they build their own little kingdoms around there, where he's the only one that knows how to run that press or run that embroidery machine. And it's kingdom building. He's built his own little kingdom. He decides on the press, I don't like that ink. He has more control than he needs to be. Now, you want to have your employees to have input, but you can't have them building kingdoms.
Yeah.
I agree 100%, because when you do that, then everybody else starts building their own kingdom, and then you have a bunch of little kingdoms and no continuity and no production.
And how many shops have you been to where the printer says, oh, that Trilock system, that thing doesn't work?
Yeah, absolutely. It's user
And
error.
what they do is they actually sabotage it so it never works.
Yeah.
And so it just doesn't work. And then because the reason they want that is because if you had that working, then the catcher could register a job and get it set up.
Right.
Right. And so they actually will tell you that it doesn't work. Oh, yeah, really? The thousands of shops that are out there using it every single day, it doesn't work for them? I find that hard to believe.
Yeah. And it's like that with new products. When you say, hey, we want to try, say, capillary film, and your screen maker goes, yeah, it's not, it just didn't work. And I know, Marshall, when you were running visual impressions, that just didn't fly for you.
No.
And Richard, that definitely didn't fly for you when you were running Shadow and any of the other companies.
No.
Well, I was trying to, like in the screen room, I was trying to eliminate tape.
Yep.
So I was just trying different things to eliminate the use of tape. And so the screen room manager had a big problem with that. Mm-hmm. And so my response to him was either you can help out with this or I'll just find somebody else that will.
Yeah.
So eventually he turned it, because I was always doing stuff. And so he got on board quickly when he realized he wouldn't have a job. Right. So,
yep, absolutely.
So that's one of the things you have to do, but it's tough when there's nobody behind that person. Right. And so that's why I think at a very minimum, and not everybody's got 1 million people that work there either. So you got to you have to know how to do the stuff. Mm-hmm. Right. At a bare minimum, if pinch comes to shove, how many times have we seen Tom Rowling running a press, while he's on a video call? Is
more than he should.
Yeah. He doesn't need to be doing it, but right now he has orders to ship. He's going to be printing.
Yep.
Okay.
And twice I've been on a second shift running my factories, and the ink guy decides that he's not coming in, or he gets sick or something, and we run out of the classic Coke Red, or in the first time in the early 80s when I knew nothing about ink, and the ink guy decides he's not there. And so I have to learn about this plastisol stuff. And I didn't know anything about it. But you see, he was gone for 2 days. And I had a library, meaning the Milwaukee Public Library. And so when he came back, I was waiting for him like the Cheshire Cat. And I wanted to know why he's not writing down the formulas. And he said, well, I got them all in here. Got them all in there. Job security. Well, no. I then explained to him that if he doesn't start writing those formulas down, if I have to do it, then I will document that. Now, moved to like 6 years later, and it's a second shift at Dalton Imprints in Hickory, North Carolina. And we, again, don't have the ink guy. And I have to figure out how to make this red ink. Again, twice a red ink. And when he comes in, he says, nah, got it all in my head. Great. You have until the end of the day to start writing down these formulas. Otherwise, it's your last day. I'll have Trudy give you your check.
Yep.
And I would have stepped in there and done anything not to take that crap from somebody that wants to bully and not write things down. It's a company. It's not his little private enclave.
Right.
It can be replaced and quick.
Yep. And you know what? It's wrong on the employee's part. It's also wrong on the management and owner's part for not having SOPs like that in there.
Yeah, right. So SOPs, a standard operating procedure, should not be about, is Billy here today?
Yep.
Right. It should be that it's a process that we do and anybody can do it.
The Marshall, which one is it? Scott Dawson that actually he's been on here before. He told me that he actually takes video of each process and has a QR code right on the machine, so anybody can go there and learn it.
He does that. It's a good thing. It's a good practice.
Absolutely.
And so Frank says use graphic source to avoid being held hostage by your artist.
True.
That's really great. Seps.io is good too. If good points, Marshall. It can be a tough situation. Sheehan says 100% agreed on that point about kingdom building around them. Same situation here inside most companies in Sri Lanka. See, it's not just here in Georgia or here in California. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It is all over the world. People are the same on that. They're worried. They want job security, and they don't realize that their best job security is to be a team player.
Yeah. So Sean says that's why you have SOPs. And then Simon says when employees have leverage, missing the end of that statement, when employees have leverage, fire them. It's the crazy line.
I will temper what Simon said. I agree because I was just saying that. I was enjoying threatening, but it's when they blackmail you.
Yes.
It's not leverage. That's blackmail.
Yeah.
And there's only one way to deal with Nazis or fascists, and that's with a brick on the side of the head.
Absolutely.
Well, I've had employees say, if you don't give me a raise, I'm walking. And my response is usually, don't let the door hit you in the butt.
Yeah, we'll miss you. Bye.
So, all right. So let's got some more topics. So this is one of Richard's favorites. Define what is next, right? So in your process, what is next? And I was talking with Richard before the show started, and I was really happy to see I was at Print Hustlers conference, and then I did a tour of Trust Print Shop there in Fort Worth, and I was delighted to see, as just walking the tour, they have the screens for the next job already right there in position at the press. So when they're taking that one job down, the screen for the next job is already sitting there. It's already staged. That's so fantastic. I love to see stuff like that. Yep. So like in your shop right now, do you have your people know what is the next thing they're going to work on, and it's already ready for them to work, right? And Richard, you talk about this all the time. So, and this is kind of your phrase, what's next. So why don't you elaborate that a little bit?
So the idea that things are ready, I grew up in the construction trades. And so I think of, production management is what I did for my father. And so a lot of that is when you're in construction, it doesn't really do you any good to have the drywall arrive before the foundations are poured or the walls are up, the framing is up. Things need to come in a certain particular order, and things need to just tumble along. The minute the framing is done, that's when the drywall should arrive, just in time, which is a system that was created in the 80s, like quick response.
JIT.
JIT, baby.
So just in time is a way to pronounce that, but Henry Ford explained how this is done, that as you go down the assembly line, if you bring what the person needs, if you can't put tires on a car, if the tires are not there. So you can't have somebody wandering around. Have you seen the tire? Do you know where the squeegee is? Plus the printer should be worried about printing. And like mise en place, which I know that Marshall has brought up several times and is again a big part of my restaurant as a screen printing shop ideas, that everything in its place. And guess what? I want to know what the next job is, or I don't want to be thinking about it. Somebody else, because I'm busy printing. Quiet. I'm busy printing. I shouldn't be looking around and say, okay, what's the next job? And then go pull the shirts. Where are my screens? Oh, I better mix up that Pantone 142. No, the job's not ready for print until everything is ready to go. I've written columns about this. The great Rick Martin,
Yep.
alias Jeffrey Gitomer. Jeffrey Gitomer could not write under his own name in the early days of Screenprinting magazine, 1979. He wrote an article about bringing everything to the printer. I wrote about it myself, and it's a way to live by. Why are we waiting? I tried to put up, I've got signs that I had in my old shop. One is what's next? When I was running a Spanish language shop in Los Angeles, Coastal Printworks, now closed, but a great place. I had them print up shirts. Más camisas means more shirts. Or what's next? What is the next job? I forget what the Mexican phrasing is, a Spanish language phrasing, but we wore shirts around the shop that said that just to keep things going. And that was 3 automatic presses in a 2-car garage. And boy, did we generate the work out of that shop. And hardcore full color process work. Boom, click, boom, click.
Great.
Started, so it's your fault.
I was you know what? I was just talking to a client a couple of weeks ago in Northern Michigan. He has a new press coming. He has 2. They're adding on to their building. He's not sure if he's going to keep the 3rd press or not because of labor. And that's what we just got talking about, the what's next. Or I called it almost, and we talked about this before, the follow the leader program. Because what he's doing is he's actually just making sure all the presses have everything they need, the ink, the squeegees, the screens. And I said, it doesn't change, except now everybody learns each press. And now when one's done, they're dropping the screen, squeegees and stuff. You're coming, taking them, and you're setting up the new job that's next on it. And they're just moving from press to press around in a circle. And it works beautifully.
Everybody should be watching the Formula One pit stops.
Absolutely.
Where we watch Mercedes-Benz are changing 4 tires in less than 2 seconds.
Yep.
Williams has been, I've got a thing from the Williams team maybe 8 years ago where they had just gotten under 2 seconds to fill a tank with gas, although they don't do that anymore, sorry, to change the tires and get the car right back out again in record. It takes 10 people, but the money is made on the track. How much money? Wait, I forgot to ask. Everybody should put in, how much money do you make when you're not printing? Anyone? How much money does a taxi make when it's parked in the parking lot?
0.
How much time do you make setting up? How much time, money do you make tearing down? You only make money when you're going boom, click, boom, click, boom, click, when you're printing. Nothing else matters. You can get Henry Kissinger to load screens into the press if it got him to go faster. You could afford it.
Yep.
And it would sound like, I get more 186 rat.
Well, he's 96 years old. So
a little bit more of an accent than Richard. We need a little bit more than 196 rad.
Well, I was trying to go for that deep gravelly voice. You know.
I'm always looking for, he just pops to mind because that's what I've said for 40 years, because he used to be the most expensive person in the world.
Right.
Elon Musk. You could afford Elon Musk.
Exactly.
If you just cut down your downtime. Say it with me.
Downtime. You know what, Richard, what you said right there just made me think of, we used to, like, before children, there were cell phones and stuff like that. As a sales guy, when I would drive, that was called no pay time because there was nothing we can do. And now I have a headset, I have AirPods, I'm taking calls, I'm stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing stuff while I'm there. It's no longer no pay time. You know what setup and all that is? It's no pay time.
I can remember being in Canada, having to use a gas station cell phone, payphone.
Yep.
Again, a long time ago in the olden days.
Yep.
And saying something when I hung up, he says, I'm getting a cell phone no matter what it costs. Because only Joe Clark had a cell phone back in the 80s.
When he was at Wilflex.
Wilflex bought him a cell phone. Wow, space age.
And then all the other guys had to have one too that worked for him. That was the first one I ever used was with Wilflex.
Mine was a $1,500 walkie-talkie Radio Shack.
Let's
move on. What's next?
So, yeah, but you're right. And, you know, all that was because there was no pay time. And pay time was pulling up in the dead of winter next to a payphone with our calling card number that we had memorized of 200 numbers. And yeah.
And let's not forget what's next isn't just in production. It's in your art department. It's in your sales department. It's in your purchasing. It's in your marketing department. What are you doing next? Right. So what's going on with you? And what is, like, for most of the people watching, you guys are business owners, right? And one of the things I've said constantly is that your brain should be focused on 6 to 8 to 10 weeks ahead, right? Yep. And then your shop is just executing what you built 2 months ago, right? And so right now, your brain needs to be thinking about January, needs to be thinking about February, needs to be about the booking those jobs and your labor issues and what's going on with the economy and like all that stuff. Your brain should be focused on that, not what you're doing right now and holiday sales and Black Friday and all that. Yep. You're just executing what you sold a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely. Right? So what's next is not limited to just to production. It needs to be a mentality for how you're doing everything and being proactive. And I've challenged tons of my production managers that work for me. And like, I want them to discover the bomb that's going to go off on their schedule today for next Thursday or Friday. And what do I mean by that? I mean, there's a job that requires metallic ink. Somebody's looked on the shelf to make sure we have some. The pink mediums for that job on Thursday, did they come in yet? Mm-hmm. Right? We're looking at that stuff before Thursday. So if you discover on Thursday we're supposed to run the job and they're missing those shirts, and now you have to make that uncomfortable call to the client and say, hey, we can't run your job because we're waiting on these shirts. And they're going to go, you're telling me this now? The event is Saturday.
Yep.
You look like such a buffoon when you do that, right? So that's why we need to be counting in the shirts the day they arrive to discover that we're missing 30. And then somebody checks the tracking to find out what's going on. And then we resolve it today. There's no waiting on this stuff, right? So what's next has to do with everybody in your in your company, not just in production. So I just want to clarify that.
And your sales team needs to be thinking, what's next? Why are you making that call? What is after that? What are you looking for? What's the goal? Is it to get the order? Is to move it down? I need artwork approval. What is the goal? I need the appointment. Here's when it is. What is your goal? And then what's next after that? Of moving it down. It either dies or keeps going. What's next?
So let's also think about what's next for our customers.
Yep.
Right? So we got this one order now. What's next for them? Are they not going to order until, July? How can we get that next order for them? What's next on their schedule? Are you talking about that now? Can you get a reorder now? One of the things I was talking with Jonathan Tynes, who owns Kickprint.
Yep.
And he tells me that he tries to get the reorder now while they're trying, before they even put the order in for the first order. And he gives the client like $50. I'll give you $50 right now if you place your reorder today, the second, right now.
Yep.
And so that's talking about what's next, and that's all in your face about it, right? So what are we doing about what's next? I think that really is a key thing here.
Yep.
And so a way to adapt is to look for waiting, one of the big 5 wastes, that wasted time waiting. And so what are you doing with screens as soon as they're done off the press? What is the reason the ink is not being scraped out automatically by some person? Because we don't have one of those extra people. You'll find that an extra person doing cleanup work, busboy style work, to make sure that nothing slows the screen from getting right to reclaim or being cleaned up and ready to print that same job next week. And then who's making that decision? Is it some boss, or is it the screen maker, or is it the printer? Who should be deciding if that screen should be reclaimed so we can get it coated, so we can get it in the loop as fast as possible? Yep. What's slowing us down?
Yeah, there's a reason why when you go to a restaurant, they clear your table before the check arrives.
Oh, yeah. They want you gone. That's called
That's
seat
your
Turn
turnover.
that table,
cue.
baby.
That's your cue that get the hell out.
Either order dessert or you're gone. Yeah, that's seat turnover because now paying customers come in there. You're done. Here's your
Yeah.
check. Here's your money. And that's turnover on there. Richard, on Reclaim, I love it because it's about, what's next on it. But, it's not just about, are the screens done? If not, there's a bottleneck there because you're either reclaiming enough or you're buying more screens. And that's a waste of freaking money.
Yep.
And boys,
sure.
where do we study about bottlenecks?
2-second lane.
The goal.
The book, The Goal.
The goal. Yep.
Joe Rogo. All right.
I
So
know a
Abe,
guy.
shout out to
with an
Joe
audio
Clark.
tape of it. I know a guy that's got an audio tape of The Goal.
Abe Froman says a shout out to Joe
Yeah.
Clark. Do we know?
Oh, yeah.
Do we know who Abe Froman is?
The Sausage King of Chicago.
He is the sausage. Besides that, the real Abe, the guy on here, because that's not. I know Abe Froman, and that's not him. Abe
Josh
Froman-
says we've automated 85% of our tasks. It's amazing for workflow. That's fantastic, Josh. Congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So that hour went really quick. Thanks everyone for watching. If you need help from Richard, here's all his information. Please reach out to him. I'm sure he would love to help you with anything that you need.
Absolutely. And Richard is the most accessible guy in the industry. Yeah. More people need to reach out to him.
Yeah. So as a reminder, we are not having a show next week. In case you missed it at the beginning of the show, next week is Thanksgiving, and Alan and I decided to take the week off.
I will be in Southern Florida.
He's traveling to Florida from Michigan, so I know he's happy. Even though
Snowing
they're
right
having
now.
a little cold snap down there. I was looking at that the other day.
Yeah, well,
But
it
not
snowed here.
Michigan weather. So
No,
I'm
it
sure
snowed
it'll be-
here. It snowed here the last 2 days. I'm not happy about it.
Yeah. And so I'm hanging out with my family. It's gonna be great. Richard, you got big plans for Thanksgiving?
Staying at home, just having chicken pot pies with Gina.
Okay, great.
Oh,
All right. So everyone have a safe and happy holiday. We'll check you guys
Yeah.
back when we come back from Thanksgiving.
I'm sorry. Abe Froman is who I thought it was. It is James from SCP Second City Print. So
Oh, okay, great.
I've known James for a while.
Yeah.
And think about Christmas gifts. Think about buying History of Screen Printing
Yep.
for a Christmas gift.
What are you looking at? Where's he at? You lost it.
It should be one right here, but it isn't. So
Yep.
Right. All right, everyone. Have a great and happy Thanksgiving, and don't eat too much. And we'll talk to you. Oh, by the way, don't eat too much, but please have that second piece of pie.
And you know what? We all have lots to be thankful for. We're thankful for you and the for listening to us, for GSG, and for the friendships we have in this. So appreciate all of you.
All right.
I'm thanking the GSG.
Hey, thanks, guys. See ya.